That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy today. Obviously, I've been through a lot of challenges. I was fired from Delta Airlines for standing up for conservative values. But fortunately, today I have Ronda Kennedy, a celebrity, a famous lawyer, a beautiful African American woman who ran for Congress, and she is joining me today. So that is why we are happy today. And it is thanks to people like Rhonda that we are all going to win this fight. So I would like to welcome Rhonda to the Happy Today podcast with Lady Maga USA. Hello, Rhonda.
Hello. So happy to be here. Just chit chat with one of my favorite people. But
Oh my
thank
gosh.
you from the bottom of my heart for having me on.
No, it's my honor. It's a privilege to even be able to talk to you. First things first, your red lipstick and your red little jacket there. I'm living for everything about you.
Thank you. You know, the red lips, you can't go wrong with the red lips. But thank you, darling.
So, just a little background. Rhonda Kennedy is a lawyer, actually a notorious lawyer who has stood up for conservative values. We're going to get into the details of what she's done. She ran for Congress, and you are running for Congress again, right?
Yes, I'm formed my committee for 2022.
Heck yeah. I always start my interview with a question, and then I will give you a little psychoanalysis of your answer. So, my question is, who is your favorite Disney character and why?
Uh, Cinderella. And because Cinderella was she's just a bad, you know. She went from, scrubbing the toilets and the floors when she was really a princess. And the two evil stepsisters got put so far in their place. And, it was a lot of times it was jealousy of Cinderella, which happens, in the world of women. And she just came out on top. And, her two evil stepsisters ended up working for her. So I think her drive, her determination, didn't give up and took what was hers is my inspiration. I like Cinderella.
Okay, well, that is so easy to analyze because you are someone who is gorgeous, who is pretty, and you have so many haters out there because you are a beautiful Black woman who is a Trump supporter, who is successful, and the leftists, th- they are so threatened by someone like you because you go against their narrative that Black people are stupid and Black people can't even have an ID to vote and Black people cannot do math. So it makes sense. It's kind of like the left. They are a collective group of evil stepsisters who hate someone like you who is empowering and beautiful. I love it. Quick question. Have you ever seen the Rogers and Hammerstein's Disney show with Brandy as Cinderella and Whitney Houston as the fairy godmother?
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. I am fully obsessed with that movie. I feel like that Brandy and Whitney Houston movie was about just showing that anybody can believe in a fairy tale. I feel like a movie like Cinderella is not about skin color. It's about overcoming your challenges, believing in yourself, staying optimistic. So honestly, so I'll just tell everybody. So I met Rhonda at CPAC 2021 in Florida, and I have been dealing with suicidal tendencies and depression and all of that. So the day that I met Rhonda, I was in my room. I forced myself to get dressed up as Lady Maga USA, and I prayed to God and the Lord and my mom, please guide me to the people I need to meet. And Rhonda was the second person that I met once I went downstairs. And if you want to believe in magic and Cinderella, let me tell you, Rhonda is one of those people who just emanates love and kindness and patriotism and women's empowerment. So it was such an honor to get to know you at CPAC. And I'm so excited to dive into your story. Rhonda, if you had,
Well, now that you've made me, now that you got me, makeup here all dripping and teary eyed, now you want to start the interview.
we're not going to cry. We are
No.
all about the optimism. We are all about the joy. So, Rhonda, I could ask a million questions, but I want you to succinctly and clearly tell me what you want the world to know about Rhonda. Go.
Rhonda is a fighter. Rhonda takes no crap. Rhonda is about justice. Rhonda loves the Constitution. I don't care about anyone's personal beliefs or feelings. If it's on the wrong side of the Constitution, you got a problem with me. And that's me in a nutshell. I'm a constitutionalist, and I will fight for the Constitution, and I will fight for constitutional rights for everybody, no matter their color, no matter their religion, no matter their country of origin, no matter their sexual orientation, no matter who they are. If they are protected under the US Constitution, I will fight for them.
Okay, can I play devil's advocate?
Absolutely. I love it.
Let's say I am a liberal and I believe that the Constitution and the United States of America were founded by white racist men. So why should a beautiful Black woman like you in 2021 defend the Constitution?
Are you serious? Is that a real question? People really ask that question? Okay, here, let me tell you why. If it wasn't for the Constitution, I wouldn't be sitting here today. If it wasn't for the Constitution, my husband and I, who's white, would not be married because Southern Democrat states, segregationists, made it illegal for interracial marriages. It was Loving v. Virginia, based on the 14th Amendment and equal protection, that found that it was unconstitutional to outlaw interracial marriages. So no matter who the individuals are that you claim that people claim were racist or slave owners or whatever, be have you, the Constitution protects everyone. And doing away with the Constitution is doing away with your own demise. It integrated schools, Constitution. Okay. It's so, you can't you want equal treatment, you want equal protection, you want equal equality for everyone, and say that the Constitution needs to be done away with, because it is that document that actually protects those individual rights, people of all color.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think that our founding fathers, for crying out loud, they were living in 1776, and freedom comes incrementally, right? Like one step at a time. And they always talk about, oh, George Washington was a slave owner. Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner. But a lot of people don't even know that Thomas Jefferson was not cool with slavery. He tried to fight it in his day. It wasn't possible. But the beauty of America is we are an evolving nation that expands freedoms more and more, basically until today. Because today, every time Congress meets, we lose a little more of our freedoms. So I am a gay man, I'm a drag queen, all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't care about my sexual orientation. I don't care about the fact that I'm gay. I care that I am a freedom-loving American. And I'm getting the vibe from you that you don't care that you're Black. You don't care about any of that. We are Americans together, right?
Exactly. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. And that is the common thread that threads us together, that bonds us together. No matter who you are, no matter what, we're here, and we're protected by the Constitution as Americans. And it doesn't matter to me, is it someone else's beliefs, as long as they do not infringe on my own constitutional rights. What do I care? It's
That's
freedom.
how I feel. So
Right.
when you and me, we had a lot of fun times at CPAC in Florida. We got to go to Kimberly Klasick's party, and it was very glamorous and it was very fun. And what a lot of people on the left do not comprehend, and what they don't understand, is that you and me we're at a nightclub having a good time as Americans. I literally do not care what color your skin is. What I care about is that you're friendly and you're loving and you're gorgeous and you're fun. So I feel like that's our whole message as Make America Great Again, Trump supporters. We come together as Americans, and it's so dangerous when the left tries to pit you against me because you're a Black woman and I'm a white man. It's divide and conquer, so it's nonsense. But I want to dive into some of the lawsuits and victories that you have had as a lawyer in California. Please brag. Please tell me all about it.
Well, I will try and brag because I'm very modest. But when the stay-at-home orders were issued in Ventura County, I was a congressional candidate still at the time. And, I'm always like the de facto representative. I get phone calls. So I kept getting phone calls to close the gun stores, Rhonda, close the gun stores. So finally I'm like, okay, after, like the 10th call and your representative not doing anything, I wrote a demand letter to the county demanding the gun stores be open because it's a Second Amendment violation.
Okay, you're speaking really fast.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's okay. What I'm gathering is the gun stores
Yes.
in Southern California were closed because the communists wanted them closed. And you legally, as a lawyer, reopened the gun stores. Is that basically what happened?
Yes, I filed a federal lawsuit in U.S. District Court, and that forced the gun stores open. So Ventura County opened the gun stores, said they have no intentions of closing the gun stores, and so the gun stores are open even after the second closures. Our gun stores are still open, and I'm right now in the Ninth Circuit of Appeals on my case, and hopefully you go fast tracking to the Supreme Court. So that was the guns. Secondly, is they were closing businesses left and right. So I got another phone call back in February. Rhonda, I'm being sued by the county, a temporary restraining order to close my business. I need help. So as a supporter, so I filed a complaint in U.S. District Court, legal strategy. Bottom line is I'm the only attorney in Ventura County, the first and only attorney in Ventura County that successfully beat the county at their TRO game. And
What
right
is
now,
TRO? What is TRO? Don't use your legal jargon. We're talking like legal stuff for dummies. So what is TRO?
temporary restraining order, the temporary restraining order. And so I was able to beat them at their game. However, the best part is I'm probably the only attorney in the country that gets to depose our health officer, our mini Fauci in Ventura County. So I get to sit him in a depo chair and ask him questions under the penalty of perjury, where he magically got all these numbers from and the deaths and the ICU, capacity and production of documents. So we're all looking forward to that. I'm getting phone calls from other attorneys across the state asking that they want to be in on the deposition.
Okay, anybody who's listening, Lady Maga fans, conservatives who found this podcast on the internet, do you understand how important and how heroic a woman like Rhonda is in Southern California? I'm actually getting emotional because we have been locked down. We are dealing with unconstitutional restrictions on our freedom to breathe the air, to open our businesses. And so I want to ask you, Rhonda, when it comes to COVID 1984, what is your overall assessment of the virus, of the reaction, and the realities behind the scenes, without saying anything that will get us kicked off of our platform? You know what I mean? Talk to me about COVID 1984.
Okay, in regards to COVID, I am not a COVID denier, which I've been accused of. I'm not a COVID denier. I'm not an anti-masker. I'm about freedom and the Constitution. And I believe, yes, COVID is very much real. COVID is very much a danger. My mother-in-law passed away from COVID, and we buried her January 8th. However, she had underlying conditions. She had lupus and she was battling cancer, and she was a patriot to the end. She was against the closures. Um, and so it's very much real, but the solution is not to devastate America. The solution is not to devastate this economy and to have long lasting effects. We don't even know the damage that they've done to our children by locking them away in isolation for nearly a year. And so, yes, COVID is real, but there needs to be a practical solution to COVID. And I think the government has failed miserably. I think California has failed miserably in that. And, to quote President Trump, as I've said before, that the cure cannot be worse than the disease. And that's what's happening right now. I mean, if you have termites in your house, do you go get dynamite and blow it up to get rid of the termites? No, that's exactly what our government is doing to our economy.
I completely agree. I think that the so-called cure has been so much worse than the virus itself, which quote me, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's basically like 99.9% survival rate. I've had it. The whole COVID mask situation is not about a virus, and it's more about conditioning us to obey whatever the government says once they tell us that we should live in fear and that we should obey in the name of safety. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. And saying that, being a movie buff, saying that, I was thinking about the movie They Live. Remember, you put the glasses on, and then you can see the signs, and it says "obey," because they were conditioning the citizens to obey, the government that was in control. And that's exactly what it is. People just, now we're like robots. We instinctively grab our mask and put it on, and sometimes we wear a mask and we forget that we don't need a mask because we're at home. You're like, why am I wearing my mask? Because we're being conditioned to obey, and it's going to be this rule. There's going to be another rule, I think it's a test to see how far we can be pushed until we push back. And that's why now that you see people are pushing back, it's quite different. Now that people are pushing back, rules are loosening and counties are opening, because now they see, okay, no, okay, we can't push anymore. They're pushing back now. And I think that's what we should have done a lot sooner, but people were afraid.
Well, what scares me the most is the other day I was on my balcony, and I saw an adult father, probably a Mormon, because he was with his 3 children, and they were riding their bicycles outside on a very windy day. And about 100 feet behind them was another little girl rollerblading. All of them were wearing masks. So I mean, without sounding like some crazy conspiracy theorist, I believe that the whole mission of the masks is to socially condition us to obey and not question and forget our individuality
Mhm.
and our individual rights and
Yeah.
do what is best for the collective. And of course, the collective is the ultimate ideal of communism and socialism. So the fact that you have stood up for businesses and all of that is absolutely incredible. Now, you live in California. Tell me why you stay in California.
Well, like I said from the beginning, um, I'm a fighter, and I just I love California. I mean, there's no better place except for the politics. There's no better place to raise a family. I mean, you can ski and surf all in the same day. You know, the weather is beautiful. You have gorgeous beaches. There's so many things to do with the family. You could drive up the coast, and I just I want to fight for my state, and I don't want to abandon it. And there's so many people here in Ventura County that count and depend on me to fight for them. And I can't abandon them. I can't abandon my state, and I can't abandon my county. I daydream and I listen to stories of people who leave California and how free and beautiful it is. And so I just live vicariously through them. But that's why I'm here. I'm here because I know there are those who can't fight for themselves. And, you know, I have to fight for them.
You know, I'm a huge Disneyland fan, and California Adventure is all about, you know, the other park across from Disneyland itself is all about the magic of California and the redwood forest and all of the wonderful things in California. And my dream was always to move to California. And before I was fired from Delta Airlines, I looked into being a flight attendant in Los Angeles, but it was just too oppressive and too expensive. So I commend you for, you know, standing your ground and staying in California. Um, I am sort of a pessimist when it comes to California. Do you believe that there is hope in California to transform it and reclaim what California once was?
Yes, I do. And it's got to start in the courtroom. I also have a lawsuit, federal lawsuit with 5 other candidates for our elections because our elections were stolen. I'm not just saying that. I mean, my opponent got 94% of her votes were from mail-in ballots. She only got 6% in-person voting. I beat her 3-1 at the polls. So how does that happen? It happened because California, you know, just sent out mail-in ballots and allowed a massive fraud to happen. We need to stop the fraud. We need to fight and stop the fraud. And I think once we're on an even playing field, I think California will look very, very differently because they're not just Democrats, right? There are Democrats, and then there are the socialists, ultra liberals, okay? And there are Democrats who are tired and they want to get away from that liberalism. You know, we're at the end of the day, I think a lot of Democrats are looking for the Republicans in California to save them from these crazy fanatic liberals. And so yes, California is savable, but we first have to deal with the voter fraud and have an even playing field. Because I don't know, we need a voter ID. Okay, first of all, having a voter ID is not racist. I don't know where they got that from. I have an ID. When I flew to CPAC, guess what I needed to get on the plane? An ID. So what? We Black people just stay at home and don't fly anywhere. Okay, we don't smoke cigarettes. You need an ID to buy cigarettes. I still get carded for alcohol. I gotta pull up my ID and show my ID. But when I go and vote, the most sacred thing as an American, I don't need an ID. What's wrong? That's just ridiculous.
In my personal opinion, we have 2 paramount issues. Number 1, election integrity, and number 2, free speech, with people being silenced and deplatformed. So a lot of people are saying that the Republican Party is not fighting hard enough for election integrity. How can our listeners and Americans in general fight for election integrity? Because they say, oh, Trump is going to run in 2024. But to be honest with you, I don't even feel like there's any point because our election process is so flawed.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I think needs to happen, and HR1, you know, is horrible, and each state needs to sue the U.S. government to enforce HR1. That they need to constitutionally, they can come up with their own election laws.
Tell us what HR1 is, because not everybody is a genius like you.
So HR1, and I want to apologize to the rest of the country for California because usually the bad stuff starts here. HR1 is basically will take the model of California sending mail-in ballots to everybody national, so that everybody in the United States gets a ballot, whether they ask for it or not. So there's ways to challenge that. And I've said this before, but I just don't have enough time to file all these lawsuits. There's a way to challenge that. They're violating people's First Amendment rights. Let me tell you why. Some religions, like Jehovah's Witnesses, do not believe in voting or being involved in politics. Therefore, by you registering them to vote and sending out a mail-in ballot, you are violating their First Amendment and freedom of religion because they don't believe in that, right? So that's one way to attack it. Second is that it's the state's rights. And I think that every single state legislator and every citizen in that state should be pushing their legislators to pass voter ID law in their states. And if you are a state like California, now we just got through finishing the recall Gavin Newsom. We're almost at the tail end of that. We're recalling the governor. Now, if we take that same energy and do a proposition for voter ID in California and get enough signatures to put it on the ballot to do a vote to do that, we might be able to get voter ID laws. But we're going to have a national push for voter ID.
Why do the Democrats oppose the very simple idea that even like the messiest of third world countries require? Why do they oppose voter ID so intensely?
Because they're utilizing and cheating. And if there's a voter ID, there's accountability. It's like one ID, one vote per person. Okay. So let's not be, having multiple people, voting, one person voting for multiple people that don't even exist. They're just making names up. And you know what? It's so ridiculous. If you Google some of this stuff, like some of the names that came up, they stopped running out of names to make up. And they were just like making up ridiculous names. And it's like, really? That's really somebody's name? That person doesn't even exist. But without an ID attached to that person, they could just make up voter registration. You don't need it. You don't need an ID to register to vote. You just need an address. So there's like 50 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, really?
To me, it is absolutely shocking that America, supposedly the most advanced, technologically advanced, amazing country on earth, cannot even figure out our elections. I mean, I'm guessing Guatemala and Ecuador and Rwanda have more effective voting systems. So I think our number one battle is to defend election integrity. And it sounds like, are you involved in any specific legal procedures or campaigns to defend election integrity?
Yes, my pending lawsuit right now. And so I did my research right after my legal research, right after the election. And I was planning on filing my own lawsuit. And then there was a group of candidates who filed. And so I joined their lawsuit. I brought my research and joined their lawsuit. And the biggest damning thing that I found that's now in this lawsuit is the fact that mail-in ballots discriminate against in-person voting, people that vote in person. And this is how it's done. So there is a Supreme Court case that the League of Women's Voters brought, I think it was in South Carolina, where they sued the state saying that we needed more in-person voting locations because customarily African Americans vote more in person than they do with mail-in ballots. And the Supreme Court agreed, and they won that case. So now we can use our same argument against them. So now it's because they said it disenfranchised the Black vote. So mail-in ballots, if you go in person to vote, at 8 o'clock, polls are closed. 8:05, they're saying, sorry, you can't vote. However, you can take a mail-in ballot and mail it up to 11:59 p.m. and it's going to be postmarked for election day. So by their own arguments and their own Supreme Court case, they are disenfranchising the Black vote, right? So
Yep.
what we have to do is we have to take their arguments and use them against them. Because if it worked over here, now they can't say, oh yeah, no, it doesn't disenfranchise the Black vote. Well, that was your own argument in your own Supreme Court case that you won. Now you're going to say it doesn't. And so that's part of our lawsuit. And hopefully, the courts will look at that and say, yep, it's already been established in, Supreme Court case. It's the ruling law, the ruling case. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm fighting it in the courts as well. And I also, under the Federal Contested Elections Act, I've contested my election before Congress. So they've received my complaint, and so I'm just waiting to see, wait for it to get processed and get my hearing date before Congress to lay all out the fraud And then, I mean, 94%. I mean, Julia Brownlee needs to go play the lottery. She got those kind of odds. I'm just saying.
I was fired from Delta for taking pictures with patriots who were open carrying their large firearms and all of that. But I know that Black flight attendants at Delta Airlines are permitted to use the N-word and post videos and music that contains the N-word. I really want to talk to you because for me as a drag queen, mainstream drag culture humiliates me. It's drag queen story hour. It's teaching children to twerk in libraries. It's pride parades, waving sex toys in the air. They don't represent me. So I want to talk to you about mainstream Black culture and how you feel as a successful, gorgeous, Black empowered woman when you see mainstream Black culture pushed by BET and Billboard and MTV and everything else.
Well, I think, okay, first of all, my grandmother, I can't say how old she is, but my grandmother's old, okay? My grandmother would, these people walking around here, kids twerking and all that. If my grandmother saw me, I was that age trying to twerk, she'd have snatched my behind up off the ground, and it told me, what are you doing? Okay. So there is no way culturally, we're losing our Black culture. Okay. We're losing it. And the older generations would not tolerate the things that these younger generations and millennials are doing today. Not tolerate it at all. My mom was 16 years old when she had me. My grandparents raised me. Abortions were legal at that time. My mom hid her pregnancy. I was born prematurely, and and my grandparents raised me because that is what used to happen. There's an unplanned pregnancy. Somebody in that family raised that baby. Now it's about abortion and pushing abortion on the Black community. And I think that is one of the reasons we're starting to lose that close knit and that culture. So I really think that some of these mothers needs to be more proactive with their kids, to go back to the way that their grandmothers and their parents thought and raise their kids that way. Because I can tell you what kids do today, being raised by my I would never get away with that stuff. And that's why I am the person that I am today, because of that discipline I have from I am so glad my grandmama will whoop my butt. And I am glad my grandmama whooped my butt, because if she didn't, I don't even want to imagine who I would be like today. And that's what I think, that's what needs to happen. Liberals need to get out of the homes and let parents raise their kids. Go ahead.
I think that is, it's what's happening. Martin Luther King told us, don't judge people by their skin color, judge them by the content of their character. What do you think Martin Luther King would say if he were resurrected and presented with what is happening with popular culture today?
He'd probably say he woke up in the Twilight Zone. Because I mean, and so many liberals, so many white liberals are actually using him to get away with the things that he actually fought against. And I just feel that he would be disappointed in his legacy. He would be disappointed, and even some of the people that stood by him and fought by him, he would be disappointed with them, with how they turned out, with going on the side of liberals and now oppressing Black America. I think they set us back 100 years. Our Black progression was set back 100 years by this so-called movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, that has set us back 100 years. And I think our civil rights members would be ashamed. Mm-hmm.
I would have to agree, because I grew up, my best friend since kindergarten, I've loved her all my life. She is a Black Lives Matter activist. She's married to a Black man. My other best friend since first grade was Shanika, a Black girl, and I literally I never saw the skin color. We were friends. But the Black Lives Matter movement, their extreme push of everything has to have a person of color, and we must erase white people. And Newton's laws of physics are white supremacy. Do you believe that they are creating more resentment and racism than there was, let's say, in the early 2000s?
Yeah, absolutely. And the riots and the riots and the so-called protesting did not help. And I want to ask, Black America with the Black Lives Matter movement and that I want to think about this. When did white liberals just wake up in the middle of the night and saying it's all about Black people? Hmm? Aren't you a little suspicious? Why does it take until now? Why did this happen, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when Joe Biden was in control and in the Senate? Why was he voting to incarcerate young Black males? Why all of a sudden, when Donald Trump becomes president, that we are the most important people in the entire country? That's an ulterior motive, and I wish more, Black America would wake up and look that you're being used. You are a tool, and they're destroying us. And because they didn't care about us before, now all of a sudden they wake up and it's all about us. No, I don't think so.
I agree. And I feel the same way as a gay, whatever LGBT person. I feel like we are being used by the left to perpetuate a victim narrative so they can be the white saviors who sweep in to save us all. And the more we identify as victims, the more power they actually have. So a woman like you who is empowered, and quite frankly, a drag queen like me who leaves the rainbow plantation, you have left the Democrat plantation. Like, honestly, I mean, I love Britney. I'm a slave for you. We love Britney. But that song is literally like the Democrats' theme song for Black people, for gay people. And until we break free from that Democrat plantation, we will never succeed. Now, I know you are like besties with Kimberly Klasick. We love her. I want you to talk to me about who your political collaborators and icons are.
My modern day collaborators, or who I
All of the above. All of the above.
okay, all of the above. Okay, um, well, I have to say, historically, I Thurgood Marshall, of course, um, who was a trailblazer and who used the Constitution to to fight um, for Black America and equal rights, and who was the first Black Supreme Court justice. And it's ironically now we have Clarence Thomas, who's a Black Supreme Court justice who is still fighting for the Constitution on the Supreme Court today. And then I love this didn't get a lot of media attention, a lot of publicity, but there was a record number of Black Republicans who ran for Congress. And we are collectively, the majority of us are collectively in a group called Black Republicans for Congress, who was founded by Congressman Chris Cannon, 7-term congressman from your state, Utah. And yes, and put us all in touch together, and that's why, Kimberly Klasick ran for Congress, Black woman, brilliant, and Kathy Barnett ran for Congress, brilliant. We're in this special, girls club kind of thing that, it's about the empowerment. And so those are all my heroes, everyone who stepped up and said, you know what, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if you call me an Uncle Tom, a coon, or whatever you want. No, I'm a Republican. And you calling me those names is just, that just says it all. That's why I am a Republican. But I like to say this one thing. I've been a Republican my entire life. And the reason why is because my great-great-grandfather ran away from his literal Democrat plantation as a slave and joined the Union Army as a water boy. So when I turned, I was like, there is no way I would slap my great grandfather in the face by joining the political party that he literally ran away from.
Okay,
So
did you all hear that? If you take anything away from this podcast, please remember that Rhonda, right here, an empowered Black woman, it was your great great grandfather who was literally victimized by the Democrat Party. And so when we talk about oppression, when we talk about history, when we talk about injustice, Rhonda's ancestors have been through all of this. And today, they're saying that all of that history and all of that oppression somehow affects her ability as an empowered American, beautiful, modern lawyer to achieve her dreams. And I could say the same thing as a gay person. Oh, we've been oppressed for so long. We're not accepted by society, whatever. No, the victim narrative for Black women like you and gay men like me is the most toxic narrative that we could possibly embrace. So, girl, I applaud you. I love you. Tell our listeners how they can support you, follow you, donate, all of the above.
yes. Well, you can just easily go to my website, rondakennedy.com. That's Rhonda with no H, Kennedy.com.
Okay, you said it really fast. I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
RondaKennedy.com. Continue, my darling.
Yes. All my social media links are there. My Twitter is quite entertaining. And also, I didn't say this, but I'm a mother of 6, including 8-year-old triplets. So I have 3 grown children and 8-year-old triplets. So if I can handle 3 8-year-olds, I know I can go to Congress and be just fine.
Okay, y'all heard that. RondaKennedy.com, a gorgeous princess queen who happens to be the mother of 6 children and still looks like she's 23 years old, is our choice, for Congress. So please go to her website, drop whatever you can donate, learn about her, follow her on social media, and please help her continue her journey. On a personal note, y'all know I get a lot of hate because I dress up in drag and I'm a theatrical person and I love wigs and makeup. And I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions about why I do what I do. Rhonda, why were you so sweet to me? Why have you embraced me as your friend and a fellow conservative and others won't?
Because you're a person. I saw the pain on your face, and it was such an injustice. I knew an injustice had been done to you, and it's just in my DNA that I wanted to help right that wrong. And so that's what drew me to you. When I heard, and I could see the sincerity, I could see the pain in your face. You were truly hurt, and you truly loved your job.
Oh,
And
yeah. I love being a flight attendant. I love taking care of my little old ladies. I love handing out the wings. I always flew in charge of my flight so I could make like cute little funny announcements and honor somebody who had a birthday or military people. So I was devastated. But you actually, you literally made me feel like I was your brother when you met me. And I feel like most people who meet you understand that you have the biggest heart of all. So anybody out there who wants to contribute to Rhonda's campaign, just know that me as a misfit and a weirdo, whatever, I'm a drag queen. Rhonda embraces all conservatives and she is not closed-minded. And I really just feel like you have a big mission ahead of you. Can you tell us about your opposition?
Her name is Julia Brownlee. She's about 22 years older than I am. She doesn't live in our district. She does absolutely nothing. She's always MIA. I get constant. As a matter of fact, I just got a phone call that for somebody didn't receive their stimulus check and they're calling me for help. And like, did you try your congresswoman? Yeah, they tried her. So I'm helping them get their stimulus check. She doesn't do anything for this district. And so most people have never heard of her, but it's Julia Brownlee. She has a terrible record. Terrible.
Okay, so she's terrible. She doesn't even respond to her constituents. And it sounds like Rhonda is actually helping people who cannot get in touch with their current representative, which is ridiculous. So y'all, literally, if you made it all the way to the end of this podcast and you are as enamored and obsessed and in love with Rhonda as I am, please go to her website, Ronda, no H, RONDA, KENNEDY.com. Contribute to her campaign, because my belief is that California is the preview of what is to come in the United States of America. Europe, Germany, France, leftist, Sweden, all of that was the preview of what was to come in California. And unless we fight in California, I'm telling you guys, Utah is on a downward spiral. Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, a lot of my family lives in Nevada. It's just as bad as California now, because the liberals always flee California and then they go and vote for the exact same policies that destroyed their lives in California. So Rhonda is someone who is it's like D-Day. You in California, a woman like you represent those soldiers at the very front of the beach, knowing you're up against terrible odds. So y'all, please follow Rhonda on social media. She said that if you go to her website, you'll be able to find all of her social media. Please contribute to her movement. And when you listen to this podcast, whether you're on Spotify or Apple or Google or whatever, just copy link and paste and share her story, because my dream and my hope, like a dream is a wish your heart makes. You and me love Cinderella.
Yes.
And my dream is for you to make it to Congress. But no matter what happens with your campaign, people are going to know your story. They're going to know that there are fighters out there and Black women like you who step forward and fight the narrative. We are going to transform America. Last question for you, baby. Are you, and be totally honest with me,
Okay.
are we in a losing battle and we are just trying to salvage what we can, or can we win?
Can we win back America?
Back America. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. The odds, our founding fathers had bigger odds than we do. Okay. They were up against a lot more than we are. And nobody in this entire world at that time thought that these little 13 colonies could beat one of the most powerful countries in the world at that time, with the best Navy at that time. But we did it. And that's why we're sitting here today. So heck yes, it is doable. We can do it. We just can't give up.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because Lady Marga's all about the optimism and the Disney and the fun. But I often go to bed just thinking, oh my gosh, Dr. Seuss, Pepe Le Pew, me as a flight attendant. We can't say ladies and gentlemen anymore. I feel like we're losing. But the best analogy and the best thing to think about is those revolutionary soldiers who literally, actually, if you do your research, they had basically a 0% chance of defeating the evil empire of England. And to compare it to today, it's the globalists, it's Apple, it's Google, it's Delta Airlines and all the rest. But if they could do it, we can do it. But we can only do it if y'all support RondaKennedy.com and help her in her journey. Rhonda, is there anything you would like to say just as a concluding comment?
I like to say, conservatives out there, no matter where you are, no matter what state you're in, hold the line. We have to hold the line.
Okay, I love it. I love you. And this is the end of the podcast. So, y'all know that I've been fired from Delta Airlines and I never made any money off of Lady Maga. And I'm hoping to go forward as a professional commentator and influencer. So, if you want to go to my website and donate to Lady Maga USA, you can do it through PayPal, Venmo, or my GoFundMe, whatever. I hate asking for money. It's super awkward. But at this point, I have lost my stability. I have lost my regular income. And the beauty about my job as a flight attendant is I could fly for 5 days straight, make all my money, and then have 2 weeks to fight for America. Well, I don't have that anymore. So if you want to support me, please do. But more importantly than supporting me financially on my website is sharing this podcast so we can get Rhonda's story out there. Rhonda, I love you.
Love
God
you.
bless you.
Love you, honey.